Hey, everybody needs a brother-in-law like you, Ken. We appreciate your call today. Thanks for walking alongside your brother-in-law. We appreciate it. Let's go, Brian. How can I help?
Hey, how's it going? It's going good.
Good. Thanks.
Yeah, I got a question about rolling a traditional IRA into a Roth IRA. It was a rollover account from a previous.
Okay, so say that breakdown again. What do you have right now?
55,000 in the Roth IRA and 37,000 in the traditional.
Okay, yeah, got it. And so you've got, in addition to that, another account that would be coming into the traditional, or are you looking to move the 37?
I put in $200 a month into the Roth, so it would just be an extra amount of that 37 into the Roth.
Got it.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah. You know, how far out are you from retirement at this point?
30 years.
Okay, yeah, you got some time on your side. Yeah, I mean, I like the Roth a lot, especially at your age, because, you know, the real benefit of the Roth IRA is you get that tax-free growth. You're never going to pay any tax on the gains when you pull it out in retirement. You also don't have the required minimum. So if you were to over-accumulate, or, you know, find you don't need some of this, you can pass it, you know, on to the kids, or, you know, to heirs. And, you know, they wouldn't pay any tax on it as it comes out either, which is just a huge benefit. They also don't require you to take anything out in a required minimum distribution with a Roth, whereas they do with the traditional. So if you were a little closer to retirement, I'd say keep both buckets. But with you being that far away, I'd say if you have the cash flow to absorb the tax bite, which all that 37,000 or whatever portion you convert would be added to your taxable income in the year of the conversion. So you need to be ready to pay that without taking anything out of the account. So you need to have the surplus to do that. Then I would say, you know, getting close to 100K in Roths to grow for the future makes a lot of sense. So I like that a lot. Let's do this, Brian. I know you have a second part to your question. I've got to take a break, so stay right there and we'll tackle it on the other side. We'll be right back.
Faith and Finance is underwritten by Certified Kingdom Advisor Kevin Bruce with Aligned Investment Research, helping families across Collin County honor God by stewarding wealth with wisdom and purpose. Because true peace of mind comes from aligning wealth with God's design. Learn more at align7.com or call 972-972-8465. 972-972-8465. Align is a registered investment advisor.
With children who are abused and exploited in trafficking, and I frequently see very unfair situations. We must talk about the issue of abuse. We can't base our actions on fear. We have to be faith-informed in what we do.
The Dr. Nurse Mama Show. For more from Dr. Jessica Peck, tune in at 2 p.m. Central on American Family Radio or on the podcast page at afr.net.
Are you a financial professional looking to grow your practice while offering advice that aligns with your Christian values? By becoming a certified Kingdom Advisor, you'll gain the biblical wisdom and professional credibility to serve clients who are seeking faith-based financial guidance. Each year, more than 75,000 people search for a certified Kingdom Advisor. Join our community and share your expertise with clients looking for someone who shares their faith and values. Start your journey today by going to kingdomadvisors.com/get-certified.
What if managing your money could actually draw you closer to God? What would happen if we began to see God as our ultimate treasure? The Faith by app helps you do more than budget. It helps you integrate your faith in financial decisions for the glory of God. With easy-to-use envelope features, top biblical financial content, and a supportive in-app community, you'll learn to steward God's resources wisely and grow in generosity. Download the Faith by app today from your app store or visit faithby.com and click app.
Are you a new small group leader looking for a strong curriculum? Even if you've been a leader for years, there's always a need for tools to help you as you help others deepen their love for God and their Bible knowledge. AFA Stream is a great resource. With topics covering biblical worldview training, godly marriage, and more, you'll have access to some of the best teaching available. And if you're a Great Commission partner, you open up even more. Visit stream.afa.net today. stream.afa.net.
Are you feeling overwhelmed by credit card debt? As followers of Christ, we are called to be good stewards of what God has given us. That's why our trusted partner, Christian Credit Counselors, is here to help. Their debt management program can help you pay off your debt 80% faster while honoring your commitments in full. Take the first step toward financial freedom today. Visit ChristianCreditCounselors.org or call 800-557-1985.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
Great to have you with us today on Faith and Finance on American Family Radio. I'm Rob West. We're taking your calls and questions today. Before the break, we were talking to Brian. He was wondering about rolling some traditional IRA money into an existing Roth IRA, and he's got 30 years on his side, and so he's got the money to do it. Brian, I was saying that's not a bad idea. Any follow-up on that? And I know you had a second question, so go ahead.
Yeah, I had talked with our tax CPA, and he was saying, looked at the numbers and thought we could transfer like $3,500 a year from the traditional into the Roth without any tax implications there.
Okay, yeah. So he's saying you would have gotten a refund, but we can, basically chew up the refund that you have and come out even. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I like that plan.
All right, and then I have a taxable investment account with about $160,000 in it, and we've lived frugally up to this point, but with 3 kids, young kids, we'd like to take month-end vacations, and I was wondering if it would be suggestible to use that account for some of those trips.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, money is a good gift from God. We have to be careful about the seduction of wealth, but it doesn't change the fact that it was a good gift, or it is. And that's to share and to provide, but I think also to enjoy. And I think God smiles when we use his resources in the context of a plan, living within our means, holding it loosely, giving it generously. But when we use it to enjoy and build relationships and especially memories with your family, I love that. And I think that's a perfect use of God's money. Where to pull that from? I think, if you can pull it from certainly an after-tax account, that makes a lot of sense. Would it be coming from a cash portion of that account, like a money market, or would you have to sell some investments?
We'd probably have to sell some investments, depending on the amount. I've got about $3,000 in the cash part of it. So.
Okay, and then are you managing that yourself, or is somebody else managing it for you?
No, we have an advisor that's managing it for us.
Okay, yeah, so I would just say, talk to your advisor about that, and he or she can determine which investments are the best to sell. Perhaps there's one they're wanting to take some profits on, or maybe they want to lock in a loss and use that to offset some profits that you would have otherwise paid at the end of the year, in terms of capital gains. So I think your advisor could determine the most tax-efficient way to do that, but in terms of you tapping some of this money, you feel like you're on track for retirement, you want to use a portion of this, taxable account to enjoy, I love that. I don't know the rest of your financial plan. I assume you don't have a lot of high-interest consumer debt. You've got an emergency fund that's not invested, but assuming all that's true, I'd say use it and enjoy it.
Yeah. We got $4,500 left on the mortgage and $18,000 in emergency fund, so we're ready to go here.
That's incredible, Brian. Well done, my friend. I'm on board.
All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for the call.
Absolutely. We appreciate your calling today. Let's go to Nebraska. Hi, Sherry. How can I help?
Hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I'm interested in determining how to choose between financial advisors. We want to make sure we're good stewards of what we have. Their family, we've been with him a lot, but his fees are $4,000 a year higher, which is a significant amount. And the approach of the two advisors is different. One is bonds and one's accumulated annuities. And I just don't know. Do I just need to do the hard work and dive down into all the data and see what the returns are and versus each one? Or how do you choose?
It's a great question. Risk tolerance, and with that strategy, how have they, performed against the respective benchmarks that would go along with that investment strategy? So that's a factor, but it's not the only factor. If I were interviewing an advisor, I'd talk about things like, what role does faith play in your financial advice? Do they really, bring in biblical wisdom? Second, financial success. I would also want to know, what their fees are. I mean, clearly, I think it's very appropriate for you to evaluate what are you being charged and is it normal and customary. And then I think, their experience and how they performed for you is another factor. Is it wrong to have a couple of advisors working on your behalf? Certainly not. I would say unless you have significant wealth, and even then, having one advisor might make more sense just because you've got that trusted relationship. You don't have, duplication of investments where they're not kind of looking, at each other's portfolios. And so that could create a situation where you have more in one particular strategy, than you should, just because they're not coordinating, with one another. And so having one advisor, looking over all of it, I think can make some sense. You want somebody you have a good rapport with and, is easy to communicate and works on your communication rhythm. So it communicates in the way and in the frequency that you want. So, some of that you'll just know intuitively after working with both of these advisors for some time. And so I would, factor that into the decision. But to your point, it may require some investigation to determine specifically how do their fees stack up against what's normal and customary. And then second, how have they performed, over time based on the type of portfolio they've been managing for you and, what the corresponding benchmarks have done. Does that make sense, though? I know I've thrown a lot at you there.
No, that really does make sense, because the emotional side is the side that I'm having the most difficulty with. And so that's really, really helpful.
Meaning you have the advisor is a friend and you don't want to have to kind of fire that person from their job? Is that the issue?
Yeah, he's a friend of the family. He's managed my dad's portfolio, my mom's, my sister's, everybody in my family. His fees are a bit higher, but we are really comfortable with him too. But this new one seems to have, a different approach, and it's hard to change. It's kind of like a marriage after 30 years, You're really used to how that person thinks.
Yes. And what is it you're liking about the advisor that's newer on the team here?
He's got his fees are less.
Okay.
And his approach is a team-oriented approach, which we like, which the other one is as well. That's probably the main difference is the fees.
Okay. And as the advisor that's been with you for some time, do you feel like you have a good handle on the returns, or would that take a little bit of work to determine how he's actually performed?
I think he's performed a couple of years, so that needs to be taken into account as well.
Sure. Well, I think it's perfectly appropriate. Integrates biblical truth. The goal is to find someone who doesn't just respect your values, from a biblical lens, and I think it's critical, and that's why you hear us talk so much about the Certified Kingdom Advisor designation on this program. Another insightful question would be, what's your definition of financial success? You may want to listen for whether they're only looking for returns or considering how they might encourage your stewardship and generosity and faithfulness. They understand that money is a tool, not a goal, and that biblical alignment brings clarity and peace to the planning process. You want to make sure, of course, they're technically competent, so you could ask, do you have the industry, do you have industry designations, and what are they? And do you have experience serving clients like me? I think that would be another key question. You could say, tell me about clients who you serve who are similar to me and how you've served them. And without, of course, naming names, they should be able to share some stories of a similar client. And then you, of course, want to know their process and their compensation. So asking a question like, what's your process for creating a financial plan? And can you talk me through your fees and commissions for a client like me? And not only are they required to disclose this, I think excellent advisors want to make sure that you understand and that you're clear on the process, but also the fees. So hopefully that gives you a few things to think about as you interview a prospective advisor. And again, if you'd like to find a CKA, Certified Kingdom Advisor, in your area, just head to faithfi.com and click Find a Professional. All right, back to the phones we go to Indiana. Hi, Sharon. How can I help?
Oh, well, I have a question, of course. If you put a parent into a nursing home, do they pay the first month and then you pick it up after that, or does Medicare pay any of that?
So Medicare covers skilled nursing care, I believe, for up to 100 days per benefit period, but only if it's medically necessary. So that would be like after a hospital stay for rehab, not long-term custodial care. That would be something different. So I think Medicaid, not Medicare, is has assets and an income limit eligibility. And so you do need to understand that, but ultimately, that the first 30 or first 100 days would be where the skilled nursing care is covered.
And also, I know that Medicare would limit what you could spend, and they kind of monitor your bank accounts and assets. Can the children get any money after that if you have to put them in permanently, or is all that money froze that they have invested? Or
So the Medicaid does have what's called a 5-year look back, and so they would count those gifts as assets. So it could delay Medicaid eligibility if they were making gifts to the kids, because those would be considered assets of the Medicaid recipient and would be factored into those asset limits.
Okay, but as far as they haven't done that, but if they put them in the nursing home, then all of them would be froze so that the kids couldn't take any of them, the money out of the assets at all. I know the government gets their share, which I agree it should be that way, but the kids would not be able to have any of the assets, correct?
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, you need to get some counsel from an elder care attorney. I'm not an attorney, but just generally speaking, that is correct. Medicaid does have what's called a clawback, and so they have the ability to recover assets that they've paid out through Medicaid. But the kids, unless they're on the account and have some legal title to the assets, would not be able to get the assets unless they were receiving them as a part of an estate distribution after death.
Okay, thank you for your information.
All right, Sharon, God bless you. Thanks for being on the program today. We appreciate it. All right, let's round out the broadcast today with your questions. We'll head to Illinois. Hi, Lee. Go ahead.
Hi there. Thank you for your program. Quick question. I'm turning 65 this year in like 6 months. But I'm a teacher and I'm working for 3 more years, and so I have insurance. I think I understand that I have to still sign up for Medicare. I'm just wondering if I have to sign up for Medicare A or Medicare A and B.
Yeah, good question. So when you turn 65, you would need to sign up for A and B. C and D are optional. You have 7 months to do that. And that's 3 months on either side of the month you turn 65. But because you have what's called credible coverage, because you're covered under an employment plan, that waives that requirement. So once that coverage is gone, then you have 8 months beginning in the month after the employer coverage ends to sign up for Medicare. And that would be A and B.
Okay, so as long as I'm employed and I have Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, then I don't have to sign up for Medicare this year. I can wait until the year that I retire.
That's right, because you have what's called creditable coverage, and so you're covered under an employer plan, and so that waives that requirement. So you don't have to do anything until that's no longer available, and then you have 8 months from the month after that.
Okay, well I appreciate that. Frustrating. I called Social Security to try to get an answer to this question, and they just passed me off to a salesman that wanted to sell me Medicare insurance, and I'm like, you know what? This isn't why I called.
Right.
I just have a technical question. Anyway.
Well, happy I could help. We appreciate you calling in today.
All right. Have a good day.
You too, bud. Take care. To Cleveland, Ohio. Lawrence, go ahead.
Yes, hello, Rob. Thank you very much for your program. Greatly appreciated here. I'd like to ask you a quick question. I have a 401 here at work. I'm 67 years old, and I'd like to withdraw money to purchase a car for, say, $25,000 versus, taking a loan, paying interest.